You will be continuously blessed because you live a life to bless others. This quote epitomizes the person, Nadia Rollins, who is with us in the studio. Nadia is a local physical therapist, certified wound and lymphedema therapist, or PTCWLT. She's also a wellness consultant at DTPT Wellness. With over 15 years of experience, she has worked with a range of clients from their teenage years to over 100 years young. So incredible. Nadia Mills is passionate about giving a voice and presence to the underserved. And today it is our pleasure to welcome Nadia to the studio of Good Morning SKN.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Indeed. Well, you know, your shirt prompts me to ask you about DTPT Wellness. So I'll just get in there. Tell us about DTPT Wellness.
Well, DTPT Wellness is the company that I started. I just recently moved back from the States. And my husband and I, my husband's a physical therapist assistant. And we are here with DTPT Wellness because my specialties as a physical therapist include pelvic floor physical therapy. So the DT is for down there. And lymphedema therapy.
Can you explain more about the lymphedema therapy for us?
So lymphedema is a side effect of, usually you'll see it in breast cancer. After breast cancer treatment, surgery, radiation, some patients get a swelling that typically, like usually when you get a swelling, they would treat it with what's called diuretics, some medications that would draw the swelling out. Mm-hmm. But lymphedema is not that kind of swelling. It's a protein-rich swelling because the lymphatic system delivers protein to the skin and your blood system can't pull it back out. So there are special techniques that we use in lymphedema management to reabsorb that protein and also teach you how to manage the condition because unfortunately, once it happens, it's a lifelong condition. And also with breast cancer intervention, sometimes there are other things there's another syndrome called cording syndrome, where the tissue becomes inflamed and it becomes thickened, and sometimes it restricts movement. So sometimes the patient will have difficulty with moving their arm, or they might have a tightness in their chest, they might have neck pain and stuff like that. So there are also manual techniques. So we physically stretch the tissue so that it would allow the patient to move more comfortably.
All right, so we're going to reverse in time a little bit to your initial interest in physical therapy. Why physical therapy?
I wasn't originally interested in physical therapy. I didn't even know what physical therapy was when I left here. So in preparing for this, I'm like, I feel so old because when I left here to study medicine because back in my day, it was you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a business person.
You got to check the box.
And so I always had an interest in health and well-being. And so I said, okay, I'll be a doctor. And then when I went to college and as I learned more, and by the way, when I left, there wasn't like personal computers and cell phones and things like that. There was a time before that. And so there was very limited knowledge in terms of what's available in healthcare. And so when I get to college now, I realize my concept of what I think healthcare is does not line up with traditional medicine, being a doctor. And fortunately, I had an advisor who said, why don't you look into physical therapy? And I'm like, I don't even know what that is, never heard of it. And so I was fortunate enough to find a physical therapist who was an orthopedic physical therapist, which is the line that I followed. And he loved his job. And he did exactly what I thought was health and wellness. And I'm like, oh, this is what I wanted to do. I just didn't know what it was.
Okay. So Nadia, can you explain to us what is a lymphedema condition?
So have you heard of lymph nodes?
I've heard of lymph nodes.
Okay, so a lot of times you go to the doctor and you get your checkup and they check along your neck and they're looking for little swellings. And say, for example, with breast cancer, they tell you to examine your breast and check for swelling. So a lot of times when you find the little marble or pea-size swelling, a lot of times it's a lymph node. Sometimes it could be a breast cancer node. But the lymphatic system is the system of, they're similar to veins, and they have these little nodules that are called nodes. It's part of your immune system. It's also part of your drainage system. So that's why if it gets damaged, you get a problem with swelling because drainage is affected. But what the lymph nodes do is it examines anything that's in your body. It takes little samples because it's checking to find bacteria, germs, anything that shouldn't be there.
Okay.
Right? And when it finds something, it transports it to the lymph node and says, this shouldn't be here, let's get rid of it. And so that's when you get your white blood cells that are created specifically for whatever it finds and targets it. And so that's how you kind of get your immune response. So that's the immune function. But in terms of drainage, we have blood that circulates throughout our body to give our body nourishment. We don't have any blood vessels in our skin.
Okay.
You have lymphatic vessels that are in your skin. So when proteins and vitamins and all that stuff get to the end of your blood supply, your body pushes it out into the tissue under your skin so that it can get nourished.
Okay.
When your body's done with it, the lymphatics pull it back in and then redeposit it into the circulatory system. So now when you have lymphedema, your body's continuing to push that fluid out under the skin, but the system to pull it back out doesn't work that well anymore. Okay. Fortunately, we have a lot of redundancies in our body and a lot of other paths. So for example, if you have swelling in your arm, you have lymph nodes just about everywhere in your body, but there's certain collectives. You have clusters in both armpits, you have them in both groins, you have them in your stomach, you have them in your back. And so if the ones that drain this arm don't work anymore, we have techniques to redirect that fluid to other parts of your body so that that part of your body can drain it.
Mechanics. She will show us the proper posture to have when we are sitting, standing, when we are sitting and standing for extended periods of time. In addition to that, she'll demonstrate the proper position to have when using the toilet.
Oh, I didn't know I was going to do all of that. Okay.
Well, apparently you are.
I thought we were going to lift boxes.
Well, let's start with lifting boxes.
Okay, so one of the main things why we have so much pain is because we don't use our body correctly. Okay. So when humans roamed the savannah and whatnot, we didn't have chairs and we didn't have nice high toilet seats, and we did a lot of bending and climbing and squatting, and now we don't do that. And so this half of our body, we kind of don't know how to use it properly. So a lot of times with lifting, we tend to use our back rather than our legs. So they usually say when you're lifting, lift with your legs, not with your back, right?
My brother understands that. Yeah.
Right. And so the proper way to lift is to bend from your hips, which are down here, rather than your back, which most of us go from up here.
Okay.
Okay. So before we try to lift anything, Jamie,
Yes.
can you just bend over and touch the floor for me?
Bend over and touch the floor.
Or just however you can get
Bend
to the floor.
over and touch the floor.
Touch the floor.
No,
touch the floor.
This is what I would do, typically.
Very good. Okay. Most people would do this.
No,
Yeah.
I learned a long time ago.
Right? Because we've stopped using our knees and our hips. We hinge at our back when we're approaching the floor. So like what Jamie did, when you go down, you need to bend your knees and your hips. And so to help you do that properly, as you're bending, you have to think about pushing your bottom back. Okay. So your knees, and this is for you because you go to the gym, a lot of people go this way. They go into the knees. You have to think about going backwards into the hips and dropping the bottom.
Ooh, you just heard that correct?
All right. So when we lift, we need to use our glutes. Okay, so getting into a squatting position kind of primes the glutes, and you push back up with the glutes. Boom. There you go.
Look at you.
All
Jim
right?
ready.
Jamie's ready.
Always.
So if you're going to lift something, you don't always want to say the size can tell you what weight it is. You want to test your weight. So you get close to the object and you give it a test to kind of get a sense of how heavy it is. Okay. You want to spread your legs out to give you a good foundation, right? So we know the Eiffel Tower. It's a very tall tower in Paris. It has very wide legs.
Wide legs, yeah.
So you need a nice wide base of support to keep you stable. So wide base of support, test your object, stay close to it, activate your core, bend your knees, and lift with your legs. Okay, you don't lift like this.
And that's how we tend to lift.
That's how we tend to lift, and that's how we tend to hurt ourselves.
So,
All right, so Cortencia is going to give us a demonstration.
so
So, yes. Activate your... Yes.
look at me.
Excellent. And so that applies whether if you're lifting from a table, if you're lifting from the floor. You always want to make sure that you're close to the object because it becomes a part of your base of support. If it's further out, you're putting pain or you're putting strain on your back. Okay. So keep it close to you. Activate your core.
Test it.
Bend at the knees and the waist and lift with your legs. Okay. That's lifting.
I know that there are certain people who can't do that because they've already had injuries. What's your advice for them?
Okay, so for example, if you are lifting something, you've tested it and you say, okay, that's probably outside of my range, team up, get a buddy and communicate with your partner. In relationships and in lifting, it's the same thing. So you want to make sure that you have a partner. Do you want us to do a little demonstration or just talk
Sure,
about it?
yes.
Okay, so this is a small box, but go ahead. All right, let's get Jamie to do it. So let's move that out of the way. So Jamie, let's see, you want to get rid of those two? Let's get close. All right. So same concept. Get a nice wide base of support, get close to the object. You want to hold up. Oh, look at him. He's going lower than me. All right. On 3, 1, 2, 3. Good. Teamwork. Right.
Make the dream work.
Beautiful. Yeah. So yeah, it's important because if one person lifts and the other one's not ready, you can cause injury to the other person.
All right, great. So did you learn anything?
I did. What about the toilet? Because I want to know the right way to use the toilet. I want to know the right way to use the toilet. So is it the same?
So again, the squatting. So before we had thrones, we squatted.
Yeah.
Okay. So squatting is the best position to relax your pelvic floor to allow elimination to happen. So there's a little stool they call the squatty potty. You can look it up, but you don't have to buy a squatty potty. You can just get a little stool in the bathroom, or you can wear high heels. That's about the only place I would say you wear high heels.
To the bathroom?
To the bathroom.
Oh my God.
Because what you want to happen is you want your knee to be above your hip.
Oh.
Okay. In that way, it tilts your pelvis and it helps to relax the pelvic floor. So that makes things easy and just flows.
Okay, so I'm gonna be wearing high heels to the bathroom now, folks. Yeah. So that's something they learned about me today.
All right, and then one more thing with sitting. So I came in and automatically their posture got better because they lifted their trunks nice and upright, tighten the stomach, sit on your sits bone instead of slouching. Yeah. Yes. So when you're doing that, you need to, if you're uncomfortable, if your trunk is weak, you need to have something to support your lower back to kind of help keep you in that position.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Well, Nadia Mills, it's been an honor talking with you.
Very
Again, I'm reading your
informative.
shirt,
Yeah.
dtptwellness.com. That is the website.